we go.
Hello, welcome to the first video of my beginner's course to Roblox programming. In this course, you're going to learn about the very basics of programming in Roblox, and once you're finished, you should have a basic understanding of programming, and you should be able to apply what you've learned to every other programming language. I will be continuing this course with other intermediate and advanced programming courses. To be specific, if you already know any other programming language, this course isn't for you, unless you want to learn new syntax. However, if you're watching this video and I've already released the intermediate programming course, I suggest you move to that one, as I'll be explaining all of the Roblox Lua syntax in that one, or in the very beginning of that one. Now, we're going to create our first Roblox project in Roblox Studio. You want to go to the Create page on the website's top bar, and then you want to head to Games under My Creations and hit Create New Game. Next, you're going to go to the basic settings and select or type whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to call it the Hello World project. And I'm going to hit create game, making sure that this is a base plate, though it doesn't really matter. Now that our project is created, we're going to hit edit. This should create Roblox or open Roblox Studio. And if you don't have Roblox Studio installed, you'll want to download it and install it on your computer. Before we begin our project, I have a few small recommendations. I recommend going to File and then Settings, and then you're going to go to Studio, which is default. You're going to scroll down to General, and you more than likely are going to see Theme under that, and you're going to want to change that to Dark. That's up to you though. And then also, you're going to want to go up to the View on the top bar right here, and enable Explorer, Properties, Command Bar, Output, and script analysis. I'll explain more on what these do later, but for now, just trust me, you're going to want them. Now, we're going to start by inserting an object, and in this case, our object will be a script. Now, you'll see a common term or a common expression commonly used in programming in general, and it'll be a print statement which prints out hello world. We'll cover more on this later, but first, it's important to understand how programming in Roblox works. Each script in Roblox has an entry point at the top of the script. That is to say, that code is read from the top to the bottom, which also means that you cannot have something at the top of your script accessing something at the bottom. This will become more important later when you're making a larger project. Now, Roblox has two scopes which you want to understand, the default, which is global, and an optional type, which is local. Scope is what determines when something is accessible, or where something is accessible. Local is written by typing local before a variable, and then global is written by doing nothing. It's the default scope of anything in Roblox. Like if you have variable equals 1, that's global. If you have local variable equals 1, then that's local. And then local scope can only access the current block of code, which it's currently accessing, or which it's in. So there's the main block, which is just from the very beginning of your script to the end. Then there's subblocks, which might be something like a do, end. I'll explain more on what this does later, but if you have something inside of something like this, like local a equals b, local a equals 0, then you can't access a outside of this because it doesn't exist. It only exists in that scope. Like I could print a here, but I couldn't do it out here. Whereas if I were to do a equals 0 here, and then I could print it out here because the scope is now global, which means all of the script can access it. But you also want to remember that Lua is a top-down or its entry point is at the very top, which means that if we were to do this, although it won't show any errors, if we were to run it, it wouldn't print anything because A is nothing. It only gets defined here. So if we were to put that after and run that, it would print 0 instead of nil. And that's on scope. Another thing to note about local scope is that Roblox has a hard limit where in any given block there can only be 200 um, local variables, and if you go beyond that, your script won't work. So that's just an important thing to note. Next, let's get on to our uh, Hello World project. So we see this print Hello World, and what does print do? Print will put something out in your output, and that means that if we were to run this, then Hello World will show up in our output, which is right here. So our script is telling the game to print out Hello World, and this can also be accessed from the play tab. So if we were to hit play and then open up the developer console, which is you opened by hitting F9 or typing /console in the chat. And then if we were to go to server under log, we would see hello world. So that's what printing does. And then print can take any variable type and it will print something out about it. So if we have hello world, that's a string, which is just any word in the English language or any word in any other language for that matter. It's just anything that you can type on your keyboard, it will accept. And then you create a string by defining it as equal to something in between two quotes. They can be either single or double. It doesn't matter. But you can't have it be a single or a double and then a single or a single then a double. That doesn't work. So you're going to want to use one of those. Also, it's good practice to only use one of these in your scripts. You don't really want to have a combination of both of these, like you have local string equals that, and local string 2 equals that. That just doesn't really make sense. Okay, anyways. And then you can type anything in the quotes, and if we were to call print on string, it would print out what we wrote. As you can see here. Now, I know this might have been a bit mind-boggling or really hard to follow. I will be explaining all of this way more in depth as this course goes on. This is just a very basic introduction. Nothing in this video will be necessary to learn the rest of this course. Anyways, thank you for watching, and this course will be continuing in a later video.